you guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Let's see. Hi, PJ. Hey, Delaney. Hey, Charlie. Hey, Ava. Hey, Lawnerd Amber. Let me turn that off. Hey, Ava. Let's see. Where was I at? Hey, Gina. K-Braze. Sandra. Lynn. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Megan. Hey, Madam August Butterfly. Candy Cane. Jane Doe. Cool Gamer. Hey, Music City Mom. Did you gift a membership and I missed it? Because I saw something in the chat. If so, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Hey, Gina, again, I think I said hi, and I'm sorry about that. It was my fault. I was a few minutes late, and then we were kind of chatting before we got started. Let's see. Hey, Karen. Hey, Shih Tzu Mom. I saw that trial happening, but I haven't watched anything about it. Hey, Amber. So I'm excited. We're going to talk, more stuff with the Leticia Stauch trial. Juror has spoken out. There's some new articles and things being released around the insurance, and I have some special ladies here to talk about it all. How are you guys? Hello.
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Hello.
Hello. Pretty good. I'm excited to be able to have something for us to all go through and hang out and talk about. And I know that you're working on the book and stuff, I'm curious. And then Jen, you're working on Sarah Boone stuff. What have you guys been up to today?
Well, I read that letter. Woo, y'all.
How was it? Hey, Lady V. Hey, Pointer Lover.
Sarah Boone, big mad. So there will be a dramatic reading. I guess I'm going to do it tomorrow night. I'll do a dramatic reading of Sarah Boone, because now we have, remember the letter she wrote in April didn't get copied correctly, and so she resent it along with instructions. Oh, she's big mad, you guys.
Of course she did.
Yes.
Oh, she's something else.
Oh, she is. Yeah. So now that I have all of those pages, now we can really get down to the dramatic reading.
So. Oh, awesome. I can't wait to hear it. Oh God, I'm sure she's up to, I can only imagine. Let me see. Charlie, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Hey, you guys. Oh, Angie, I'm going to call you as soon as the live is over. You guys oh my God, I'm so annoyed over my phone too, because I'm having issues with it. It's just, today's been, tomorrow is the last day. We have kindergarten awards. And then I think life will be a little less stressful after that. Hey, Shmita. Hey, Anna. Hey, you guys.
Is tomorrow the last day of school?
Yeah. Yep.
Holy shit. I think that might be right for my kid too, which I wasn't really paying attention to, because to be quite honest, she's graduating. So I wasn't really paying attention to when the last day of school is. Perhaps I should have.
Yeah, well, you got a big stuff coming up. I love Jen Lou's dramatic readings. They're great. Hey, hoping for answers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up about this juror. We had talked about, Lori Vallow jurors started coming out before we heard from Leticia Stauch, jurors in her trial, and now we're starting to hear from them. I hope we hear from more too.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I felt like they might need a time to process.
Right.
I mean, I have to say, I don't think that the evidence in either trial was one was more gruesome or worse than the other. But the vibe of the trials were very, very different. Okay, I can tell Alice is already up to no damn good. Please hold.
Well, and remember, so I mean, just the time that I was there, I had to take breaks, but those jurors couldn't take breaks. And, we had hours of those phone calls between her and Albert where she was screeching at him. And the volume in the courtroom is loud, and it's crystal clear in the courtroom,
Oh, wow.
And so it's a lot different, because there were days where I was in the courtroom for some of the phone calls, and then there were days where I watched it on the WebEx and on live streams through YouTube. And there, I could turn the volume down, I could adjust it, I could go smoke a cigarette, whatever. But to be a juror and not be able to get up and leave, even though they did what the judge called seventh inning stretches, where everybody would kind of stand up and stretch out, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Now, do you remember that first day you were even going to come on here? And it was like just, I think, like so draining for you. I think
Oh yeah, I went out and got white girl wasted that night.
Yeah,
The
because
first night of trial, I did.
I think you anticipated it being like watching it on the computer. You know what I mean? And then because like I don't know, maybe, or you just anticipated it being easier, and it was just a lot. So imagine the jurors, they went through that.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
who
it was
knew
a
we
lot
were
more
going to all
emotional.
have to? Who knew we were going to have to sit through 80 hours of Leticia screeching?
Right.
And that was the thing about the Vallow case. Like, even when there were arguments on phone calls or whatever, they were all argued like very quietly, which I always found interesting, like that you wouldn't really even know they were arguing by the volume, only the words that were being used, especially with Melanie Gibb. When they were bashing each other with scripture. I know I shouldn't laugh at that, but every time they do it, oh, you have a lot of carnal desires, Lori. I mean, instead of just straight calling her what she meant, like really what that translates to is, did you just call me a hoe? And here comes Melanie. Yeah, I called you a hoe, but that's not how they argued. Well, yes, I think you have a lot of carnal desires, Lori. Like, fuck off, Melanie. Just call her what you want to call her.
Destroying each other with scripture.
Yes.
Hey, Roxanne. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press play because I want to get into the life insurance stuff too. I learned something new today about that, and Crime Curious sent over all the you'll have to tell me. I have it pulled up here, like the email, but it looks like there's 3 PDFs. So when we get to that, you just let me know. But okay. But first we'll go through this because I did learn something new with the insurance, and oh God, I want to talk about that. But here, we'll start here. Hopefully, if it loads. There we go. Wait a second. We need some audio. No. Okay.
She told me she wanted to share. Last week, after the Stauch murder trial, a woman emailed me saying that she was on that panel. She told me she wanted to share her side of the story on camera, but she said she didn't want to use her name.
I cling to the fact that we were chosen at random, but we were chosen for a reason.
This juror says she went into the trial with an open mind.
Sometimes the obvious answer isn't the correct answer, and sometimes it is the correct answer. But you have to do the research. And in this case, the research was going to the trial and listening.
She tells me it was a difficult case to sit through, hearing medical examiners explain the injuries to 11-year-old Gannon, to seeing evidence photos and listening to family members share their trauma.
It was much more difficult than I expected it to be emotionally.
As the prosecution and defense closed, the juror tells me she felt ready to deliberate and thinks the other jurors felt the same way. She says after only a few hours of speaking with the other jurors, she was certain they were ready to convict.
Even the people that took a little bit longer, I think that was their opinion going into it. They just needed to reassure themselves and to wrap their minds around we were making a life-changing decision for many, many people.
Wow.
She says the jury was able to come to a unanimous verdict after that guilty verdict was read by the judge. Aww. The juror tells me she felt relief, but also sadness for the family.
It is frustrating to hear it all. And it's the worst part. It's the worst part. It is hard to not be able to get to that why.
She says the trial will be something she carries with her forever.
My daughter-in-law said something to me the other day. She said, it's kind of like going to battle. It was kind of like you did your service for the country, which was required, but you can be proud of what you did.
The juror tells me getting back into her day-to-day routine has been challenging, but she's happy to be surrounded by her family. reporting in Colorado.
Oh my God, I just cannot imagine.
And it's the worst part.
I'm trying to there we go. This picture right here. It says, "I love you, Dad." Look at them. That is so sad and so sweet. And also, thank you, Corinne. Thank you so much. What do you guys think? I mean, it's pretty interesting. She said she believes even the people that, wanted to take some time, they still felt she was guilty from the get-go. It was just, they wanted to do their due diligence, I think. And I don't know. What do you guys think? Hey, B Crumbs. Hey, Pepper.
I mean, I think we talked about that, like why they were taking so long. And I think we all kind of thought they probably know, but they just want to make sure. I mean, they're taking their time because unlike Leticia, they recognized the seriousness of whatever course of action they took and that it was going to impact the rest of somebody's life. Right. And so, they took they did what they are supposed to do. And I'm glad to hear that they at least took extra time to really think it over, because I think that means that they didn't rush to a decision. They weren't ready to just go in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Welcome, Lip Lock No More. Thank you for joining. What do you think, Crime Curious? I know you said like you remember that particular juror, which is, interesting, but
Yeah, she was sitting fairly close to the defense table, and she was one of the two main people that I was talking about when I said during the day that Leticia's brother Dakota testified that I started to see them become emotional. It was her and it was another guy that was in the front row. They kind of started shifting in their seats, and they just looked. They were still very focused, and they were definitely paying attention to everything. But prior to that, it was like all business. And then after Dakota's testimony, they seemed more human. It seemed like you could see the reactions on their faces, and she was one of those people.
That is interesting. Well, you got to think, like, these people are normal people. All of us, we're watching case after case, and it's, it's even tough on us, but like, this is really dark and depressing stuff. Like, I know my mom, like, she even gets a little bit depressed, like, listening to me. You know what I mean? Like, she can't even take, like, I don't know. So just for normal people, it's a lot. This is
Yeah. Plus, you're like witnessing somebody's worst situation that imaginable, and you're sort of watching family drama and family dynamics that you otherwise probably would never see play out. And I think if I would have been in the courtroom, I think that Dakota's testimony, I probably would have felt uncomfortable. Y'all know I don't deal that great with emotion, but when men cry, it's even harder for me. Like, I get very uncomfortable. It's very unnerving to me. And so I think that would be hard as a juror to have to sit there and not be, and try your best not to really react. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up some of this stuff that's come out with the life insurance. Oh wait, I gotta show y'all this. So I was looking on Facebook just to see what came up when I searched her, actually on my phone, but I came and did it on the computer. And look at this thing that comes up, a page called Leticia Stauch is a God. And look at the picture.
And, God.
Oh yeah, look here. Blood. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
Could this be her? Yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, what in the world? What is up with these people?
It must be making fun of her because of the vampire stuff.
Yeah. Let me see what else is on here real quick. Then we have, oh
Wow.
God, look at this picture they shared.
They might need some help. Hey, if somebody is running behind that page, and you need some help, like superimposing some of this stuff to make it work, where it's actually Leticia being the vampire, call me. I'll help you.
Call me.
Call me.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Let's see. I guess she didn't put a thing with that. Then she's got this with her in the makeup.
I
Why
want to
does
see
she
what
look
people
like
are saying.
someone said, why does she look like a great value Marilyn Manson?
Oh my God.
Let me see what these comments say.
Not a great value Marilyn Manson.
This is sick, and this evil witch doesn't need help. She deserves to be right where she is. Justice will be served, and this creature/animal will be locked away. A creature. That's pretty good. Just stuff like that. Let me see that other post with the vampires. Now that is comical. Oh, I don't
Oh,
think.
so this was up while she was at trial.
Yeah, this
Those
one
comments
came
are
up.
from 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
What
I'm
in
really
the
glad
world?
I don't have Facebook anymore.
It's got 3 likes. Who the hell liked this? 3 people like this page?
Now, let's be fair. Liking can be like you get the humor.
Oh, do
So-
click on the About page.
Hey, Nicole. Adrian, I can totally do that. I made a bunch last year that were really cool. So if you look at my little Instagram, by the way, if anyone's messaged over there, I have to log in and check those. I don't get the alerts, so I will get back to you guys. But okay, where do I go to? Just email me, Adrian, and we'll talk about it, and we'll figure out what you want and all that stuff. What, Jen?
Who said she ain't no Cullen? Because that took me out. She sure ain't.
Jujubee said probably Leticia liked it with 3 separate accounts.
Hey, now that makes sense.
Leticia, Maria, Taylor, little Lucia. Yeah, that's who liked it.
Look, let's roast Leticia Stauch, a group. Then there's a group called Free Leticia Stauch. Leticia Stauch, aka Little Lucia, aka Jasmine, aka Maria Sanchez. Oh my God, these people got too much time on their hands.
I'm telling y'all, the internet remains undefeated in situations like this. I don't know why people don't take that into consideration before they do shit. You're going to end up a meme. Stop fucking around.
Look, she was framed. If you don't know one of the 15 real stories, then don't act like you do.
Brandon.
Do you know him? And the last one I'm going to look at, then we'll get into this life insurance stuff, but this is just funny. Let's roast Leticia Stauch. Damn, they didn't roast her any. I was hoping we'd get some good.
They should call me. I could help them out.
You definitely could. Oh, how
There was
funny.
one that said anything goes. I think it was up a little bit.
Let's see. Uh-oh. If they're not public, I can't hit them, or I can't go in it.
Oh, yeah, that's private.
Lame.
But anyways, that's pretty funny. But who in the world? I mean, whoever's creating these groups, I bet you Reddit is quite interesting as well. But I saw this. So it says exclusive. This is Sean Rice, KRDO. Federal court documents reveal convicted child killer Leticia Stauch took out a $25,000 life insurance policy on her stepson 2 years before murdering him. Now the company responsible for paying it out is asking who should get the money. So I'll never forget when you, Crime Curious, is where I heard of this at all. The fact that she had reached out to the life insurance place from the jail or something like that.
Yeah, so I actually got the paperwork from my PI like the day that the trial was beginning. And I went ahead and put it up on the website. It's not up there right now because I still haven't finished my timeline, but that's another story. But anyway, so on March 3rd, which is the day after she got arrested, I know everybody's saying it was the day she was arrested, and maybe she did reach out to them on that day, but it wasn't changed until March 3rd. So the only date that we have based on that document is March 3rd, 2020.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was the day after she got arrested.
Oh,
Is
it
when she
keeps
switched
track.
it. That's when she switched it so that Harley was the main beneficiary. Anyway, and then on August 25th of 2020, she contacted the insurance company again and got a copy of the policy, and that's the stuff that I sent you. So if you look at the one, so of the 3 documents that I sent you, one of them is actually a copy of the probable cause affidavit, but that's because it was an attachment to the insurance paperwork.
Okay, so here is, hold on. Actually, before I get to that, we're going to pull that up in one sec. I was going to show you this. So you said the date on it because look what he tweeted. When it comes to who should recoup the money, Leticia originally placed her husband at the time, Al, and her daughter Harley as beneficiaries. However, that changed on a rather coincidental date. And it says on the day she was arrested for murdering her stepson, USAA, at the request of Leticia. So that's what you mean. He says on the day she was arrested. You say it says on March 3rd, right? Here, I'm gonna pull
and you've got the paperwork. So he just made a mistake.
Okay, interesting. Let me flip over to that. This is the first one. And this is USAA versus Eugene Landon and Letecia Stauch, the defendants. Let's see. USAA respectfully submits its complaint in interpleader against defendants Eugene, Landon, and Leticia. Number 1, the life insurance is a corporation organized under laws in Texas. Upon information of belief, Al is an individual in Colorado Springs. Al may be served with process at 423 Colorado Springs. Let's see. Landon lives in South Carolina. Leticia Stauch is incarcerated at the El Paso County Jail.
Not anymore. You might want to update that address.
Yeah, she's got a new address. Jurisdiction and venue. Factual background. All right, I'm going to read this. Effective June 11th, USAA Life issued life insurance policy number whatever, insuring and owned by Leticia. A duplicate copy of the policy is attached. The policy included term life insurance for children, providing a death benefit of $25,000 to each insured child. Gannon Stauch was named as an insured child. The child rider specifies that USAA Life will pay the death benefit to the insured if living or to the estate of the insured child. Gannon was murdered late January 2020. Leticia was arrested for his murder. Now, whoa, what happened there? Hold on a second. Let me see. I guess I
broke it.
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't want to show anybody's because that's my email, which it's just like, let me make sure that nobody's name. Okay, no. Okay. Sorry. It says the trial is currently set for March 20th. Now, were the other kids were the other kids insured? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because that's a huge of course.
Leticia would definitely have some explaining to do then.
Yeah, so Leticia was insured for $250,000, and each of the kids had a $25,000 rider.
Okay. So then, let's see.
All I can think of is the commercial for USAA. That commercial song is in my head. USAA. I had to get it out, you guys. I'm sorry.
If this court finds that Leticia feloniously killed Gannon, she will be precluded from receiving the death benefit. The child rider requires the death benefit be paid to Gannon's estate. Under Colorado laws, Gannon's parents, Al and Landon, are equally entitled to Gannon's interstate estate. Maybe this was a interstate estate. I don't know. As a result of the pending charges against Letecia, USAA faces the prospect of exposure to multiple liability for the death benefit. Let's keep going. They have no claims in it. They are unable to determine whether Letecia, Al, or Landon, or another individual is entitled to the death benefit. It doesn't say anything about her reaching out to them. That's what I was looking for. Let's see.
So you'll find that information in the other document, and it starts with a letter dated August 25th, 2020, and it says, "Dear Miss Stauch, thank you for your request," or something along those lines.
Got it. Let's see. August 25th, 2020. This is from USAA to Letecia, Miss Stauch. Thank you for contacting USAA Life Insurance for assistance. Enclosed is a duplicate of your Level Term Series 5 contract. This duplicate replaces the original contract. Because it is a valuable legal document, we recommend you maintain only one copy of your contract. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, Letecia, fucking be responsible.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I guess she had no, she was out of, she figured probably all they can say is no, but the nerve of you to try to collect on life insurance, on a child that you brutally murdered,
I mean, I have to say, you guys, are we really shocked? If it were anybody else, I might be able to muster up 2% of shock. But with Letecia, this is just par for the course. With this, it goes hand in hand with all of her audacity.
Right. Well, so the day after she was arrested, she switched it over to Harley's name, knowing that she wouldn't be able to get the benefit. She wouldn't be able to get the money because she's just been arrested for Gannon's murder. So she switches it over into Harley's name. But remember, and like I said, that's the day after she was arrested. She would have left it in her name. In my opinion, she would have left it in her name had she not been arrested. But then the second she's arrested for his murder, then she can no longer collect that money. Switching it over into Harley's name on March 3rd, Letecia would still get that money. And when she requested it on August 25th, at that time, Letecia and Harley had a joint checking account. So Harley wouldn't have ever gotten that money either. She was using Harley the way she always used Harley. And that money would have gone into their joint account, and then Letecia would have gotten the money. Because in August of 2020, that's when Amy Lang, that's still during the time when Amy Lang was Leticia's had power of attorney over Letecia and all her affairs. And remember, they had gotten the retirement money, and then, Amy had access to the account, and then, and so this was just, this life insurance was just one thing in a line of Letecia trying to get money together, And so she thought that if she changed the beneficiary to Harley, that Harley would get that money. It would go in the joint account, and then she could use it.
Right.
Oh,
I don't know that for sure. I mean,
but then I think USAA was like, no, that's not how it's going to go, because you're the policy holder and you changed it after your arrest. So now that looks sus. And so now it's going to go to court. I see.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if the background noise is my wind or you guys doing something, but
I'm just sitting here.
Okay. And then, that's okay. It might be the wind, but either way, I couldn't even notice it until I saw a comment. I guess maybe, I don't know. I was just focusing on what you guys were saying, but, let's see. RJ Mercy said, do you think this was premeditated to get the money? I don't think this was to get the money. I think it's more like what they were saying. She's like scrambling, just trying to get funds. And Lady V, it was $25,000. But for her, you said, and it's right here, I think $250,000. Hey, Natasha.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it do y'all hear the wind?
No.
I don't.
Okay. It was pretty bad a second ago, though. Okay, effective date June 11th, 2017. Initial face amount $250,000. 30-year benefit period. I just can't get over. I just can't get over the nerve of her. So what do you guys guess will happen to this? What his estate? What does that mean? And does that mean? Yeah. What does that mean? Does that go to the parents to be split or?
Yeah, it means that it'll go to Gannon's estate, which is Albert and Landon. So it'll probably get split up 50-50 between Albert and Landon to do with
Yeah.
however they please.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Buddy. Oh, now let me see. I grabbed something else. Look, here's some stuff I posted in my Facebook group when I searched Letecia Stauch from 2021. Oh, here it is. One of her letters to the judge. She's yeah, but I wanted to show you guys this I saw, which was kind of interesting when I did the search for her and saw her Letecia Stauch as a god.
Oh, bless it.
Do you guys remember when she says that she was, what was it? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. She like quoted that country song.
She quoted, that's not just a country song, that's a movie.
Oh, yeah.
She quoted the fucking Gambler. How dare you, Leticia? How dare you quote Kenny Rogers like that? What's wrong with you? What's next? You're going to freaking sing Islands in the Stream? Ugh.
It's funny. Hey, Tammy. Yeah, she was a mess. She also said that she was gonna write a book after she's set free, and I wonder if she will write a book. I guess she can't make any money from it, right?
Well, I think Colorado does have the Son of Sam law, but guess what state does not have the Son of Sam law?
What state?
There is, what is it? Missouri.
So you can kill somebody and then profit off of it as much as you want.
Yeah, because Gypsy Rose can sell her story and her life rights. That's what that big fight was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Leticia, I remember during one of the Amy Lang interviews, Amy mentioned that Leticia had given her permission to write a book, but she's not talking to her anymore, so she needs to contact her again and see if she still has permission to do that. And she said, well, you can never profit from writing a book, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll write the book and I will set you up for life with your commissary. And I'm like, that's profiting from a book.
Yeah, that's straight up going around and
idiots
doing exactly what you're not supposed to do.
Right.
Could be like the OJ book. Yeah, if I did it or whatever, that book. Yeah. Oh my God. Amber says free Gypsy. See, I was talking to Jen about that, Amber, and it's really interesting with people who studied that case really closely. I did not. I've always kind of looked at Gypsy as, the ultimate victim, really. But I think there's a little bit of another side of it that you don't really see.
Well, she is a victim, but she's also a perpetrator. And it's the way she was raised. There's a lot that goes into it, but it's fine. Amber, Gypsy. Oh, by the way, I'm glad you're here, ATS News. You were right regarding Nate Eaton. He did say it was headlines. So you were right. So everybody in Allie's chat can now hear it too. ATS News was right and Jen Lou was wrong. But she'll be out in December. She'll be fine. Oh,
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. You've dug deep into it, Amber. See, I haven't. I've just kind of watched surface level. Hold on one second, you guys. Just one second.
My feelings for Gypsy are complicated because I do recognize that on many, many levels, she is a victim, and that how she got Nicholas Godejohn to do what he ultimately ended up doing. She learned from not just her mother, but her grandmother as well. So there's an intergenerational fuckery there, for lack of a better word. And so I do see Gypsy as a victim, but I also see her as a perpetrator. And what upsets me, I think, the most, or what frightens me for Gypsy's future, is that she does not acknowledge that she might benefit from some type of therapy, because Dr. Phil even offered to help her. Now, I get her not wanting to take it in prison, right? That's fine. But after the fact, when you get out and Dr. Phil offers to set you up, obviously he can't give her therapy because he's not licensed to practice anymore, but he offered to set her up with special therapists that would be trained to deal with her type of abuse and trauma. And she's like, no, I don't need it. I'm fine. Okay, well, you went on the internet and you found a dude to kill your mom. I highly doubt that you're fine. You're not fine. You know, I don't think you're well adjusted. And I think you probably got some anger issues that are unresolved with your dad. So, but she doesn't want to do any of that. And I think that's what's kind of alarming to me, because I feel like, how is she going to heal and do better? You know, she was, you know, locked away all those years, right, with her mom, and then locked away in prison where all of the decisions were made for her. I mean, Don't get me wrong, she made her own decisions. She got in trouble quite a few times in jail. But
Meg, she's the one who was it Mommy Dearest?
Mommy Dead and Dearest on HBO. Yeah.
She was the one that the young lady who had a boy help her kill her mom. Her mom had Munchausen. She was, I guess she thought, you know, made her think that she had many diseases and stuff she didn't have. I don't know, because I didn't follow it that closely. But yeah, Gypsy Blanchard is her name. But it's a really crazy case.
But she'll be paroled this year in December, so she'll be out. I just hope that you know, the thing that scares me for Gypsy, like I said, is the not getting any help or therapy, right? Because all of her entire life, decisions have been made for her mainly, right? First it was her mom, and then it was jail, and then it was prison. And I don't know how she's going to be ready to go out into the world, because it's not a parole. Well, I guess, yeah, it is a parole. So she'll be somewhat supervised, right? But I don't know. I just don't know how she would. Prison does not prepare you to be a productive citizen in the world. It just doesn't. It's
Is
just,
she married?
you know.
No.
Okay. I know she was engaged. They broke it off, but I think she is married.
Wow. Okay.
I haven't really kept up with her because, I started seeing, you know, I started seeing some stuff from like JPay letters and whatnot from her. And I was like, damn, I don't know. It just kind of turned my stomach a little bit. And I try to give Gypsy, I try to give her a little bit of grace, but then she just sometimes acts such a fucking fool that it makes it very difficult for me not to call out buffoonery. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I know people feel very strongly about her, and I don't want to offend anybody, and I hope I haven't, because I can see that she is a victim in many respects. But I just think, you know, anyway, that's not what we're here for. Maybe one time I'll do another episode. Maybe I'll go live one time about Gypsy and talk about her. And Amber, you can come up too. That would be awesome, because I want to hear your perspective. We've never talked about that, and I want to hear what you have to say about it. I know I know what I think. I'm already bored with what I think. I want to hear what other people think. So,
Lip Lock No More, thank you for being here. And you guys, I'm going to drop it one more time. I dropped her channel. She does a lot of Summer Wells content and stuff. Yeah, thank you. And then before, I want to show you guys this. This is the DA back when she was first arrested. But I wanted to ask you, Crumb Curious, before we get into that, like, what about your experience so far? Number one, when did you, because I was thinking about this. I used to do this series called Conversation With, and like different creators in the community. And I would basically ask them what got them into true crime and about specific cases they've covered. And I was thinking about this with you. What got you into Gannon's case, and like, what has your experience been so far, like covering the book, starting this YouTube channel? What do you think? Like, can you give us anything on that? I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, Well, I got hooked into YouTube with Chris Watts because on August 21st of 2018, I moved from like the Colorado Springs area up to Westminster, and it was August 21st of 2018, so it was all over the news, and I didn't know the area very well, and that's plastered all over the news to this place that I just moved to. So I was immediately obsessed with it, and the news just wasn't enough, and that's how I got hooked on the YouTube stuff. And then we all know how that played out, and so I obviously stayed hooked. And then the Frazee case happened, and when I first moved to Colorado back in '99, the first place I lived was in Woodland Park, and that's in Teller County. And so I was roped into that too. And then when Gannon went missing, I was actually a bartender at the Palmer Lake pub, and I was writing about the legalization of marijuana in the United States. And so I've always been into writing, but it's not the world's best day job, trust me. And it's hard to make money. And
Right.
so I've always had other stuff going on, but I've always done the writing thing as well. Um, and so and then so I was super familiar with the area, but they were looking for him, in Palmer Lake, and Palmer Lake is a really small place. I mean, everybody knows everybody, and of course, I have three sons. They're all grown now. They're all adults, but I'm still a boy mom, forever and ever.
Right.
And so, and I had actually just slipped on the ice and broken my arm. So I was a bartender, and then I immediately lost my job because, it was a small little place called the Palmer Lake Pub, and it was basically run by like four people, and if one of them's out, it's such a small thing. It's not like I could take medical leave and then have my job back when you know what I mean? So it was just kind of over. But I couldn't move. I couldn't lay down to sleep. I was just stuck on the couch in one spot, me and my phone. And so at that time, the book project was going to be with Watts, Frazee, and Stauch combined.
Ooh.
And then, and so I was researching all three of them, and then Stauch was in real time, but I was going backwards on Frazee and Watts, for anything that I had missed. Sorry, of course somebody's going to mow their grass right now. I'll be back in just a second. Is it too loud and annoying?
I don't hear it.
I don't hear it.
Okay. Okay, good. So anyway, it was going to be Frazee, Watts, and Stauch because, it's three entirely different cases with Watts taking the plea and then Frazee going.
Oh, it sounds like my neighborhood.
Yeah, that street is supposed to be 35 miles an hour, but, we're in the country. Shit happens. Anyway, Frazee went all the way to trial, but they had it locked down. I mean, there were no cameras allowed in the courtroom. You couldn't even draw a courtroom sketch. So, and then, they had a state's witness, which is the only reason he was convicted is because of the testimony of his ex, the nurse from Idaho.
Yeah.
And so that was fascinating to me. And Stauch was, I didn't really know anything yet, but I was just watching it really closely. I had no idea that it was going to turn into what it turned into. I just knew it was important to me right away. And so I can't remember exactly when it was that I moved down there, but I ended up moving down to Durango, and I was down in Durango and I ran a motel for a couple of years. And while I was there, Mark Redwine had been sentenced, and I had already told myself that I was not going to write about Dylan Redwine because at that point, Gannon's case was already tearing me up more than I thought it would. I mean, way more than Watts and Frazee had, I mean, right. I guess just, little boy, and, I've been a stepmom before, and, my kids were also with my ex-husband and a stepmom for a little bit, I mean, just so many things that tied me to it. And I think that's a big thing with the Stauch case is whether, I mean, there are just so many people that can relate to the different aspects of the case. There are so many things that are common issues. Most people that I tell about the case, they'll immediately tell me about like some crazy ex that they had that acted just like Leticia, or,
Yeah.
like they'll immediately tell me a story about themselves that this case reminds them of. You know what I mean?
It
Mhm.
does me. It does me. That's what got me with it, because when Gannon went missing, he was the exact age as Trenton, and he looked similar to him, tall,
Right.
the same hair. I don't know. They just so immediately, I just felt so connected to it. So that's really interesting you say that.
Yeah. Um, and
Billy.
so I had no intention of writing about Dylan Redwine, because I just didn't think I could handle it. I couldn't take it. But I happened to be in downtown Durango the day that Mark was sentenced finally, 9 years after he killed his son. He was sentenced on October 21st, I think it was, 2021. And I ended up meeting Dylan's entire family because they were all out celebrating after court that day. And so when I go somewhere to unwind, there's a pool table, and so I was downtown, and I was shooting pool in my favorite little spot where I would get away.
Mhm.
And I ended up standing up on a bar stool so that I could take a picture of all of them that were there. And I was using Dylan's mom's phone, to take that picture, and they were holding up their fingers in such a way that it represented 48, because Redwine got 48 years because it was second-degree murder. And 48 years isn't enough, but he was in his 60s, and it basically translates to a life sentence for him.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were happy. They felt like it was as close as they could get to a life sentence. So, but anyway, I didn't tell them that I was a crime writer, but the bartender did. The bartender's like, well, you guys know that the lady who took the picture writes books about true crime, right? Of course, I still, anyway, like, thanks for outing me. I don't do that. I don't interject myself into these cases. I mean, I'll talk to people, and of course, I was at the trial, and, I met Gannon's mom. She gave me a hug, all that stuff. But I don't, I stay in my lane while still gathering information.
Mhm.
Um, and anyway, so he comes up to me, and he asked me uh, if I'm writing about his brother, and I was just kind of like, no, I'm not. I honestly don't think that I can. And so then he and I did a shot, and I'm like we're face to face, like inches away, and he's asking me to write about his brother. And how do you say no to that? You can't say no to that. And so I told him that I would, and he's got tears in his eyes, and I've got tears in my eyes. And I'm not used to somebody wanting me to write about something. Normally,
Mhm.
normally it's just not the way it goes, especially with all of the negative stuff that's out there about like YouTubers and, people not staying in their lane,
Yeah.
a lot of people act like they work for the National Enquirer, and it's kind of embarrassing sometimes.
Yeah.
Even the judge in the Stauch case had to remind people that, like, these are real people. This is not TV. You know, these are
Right.
real lives.
I
They're
say
not
that.
actors.
Yes, I say that all the time, don't I, Jen? I'm like this, like,
Yes.
I wish people realize that. See, I love these kind of questions. I actually haven't done an interview like that with you either, Jen. And I just find that stuff so interesting about you guys. You're my friends, and I want to know, but I know for sure people that watch want to know that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
interested in what brings you to the case. Jen, did you
Yeah.
follow it from the beginning? You did, right? Pretty much.
Follow what? Gannon?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did.
Thought
I
so.
did. He reminds me of, like, looks wise, he reminds me of my youngest son. But the things that he was into, like the video games and all of that, remind me of my oldest son. Like, I used to have to um, bribe my oldest son. That's how I taught him how to ride a bike, because he just wanted to play the Game Boy all the time. And it was summertime, and I wasn't raised like that. And I was like, listen here, little boy, you got to learn how to ride. Your younger brother knows how to ride a bike, and you don't. Come on. So I would be like, all right, well, if you go and, practice riding your bike, and I would go out there with them. I don't know. I was always freaked out about like somebody snatching my kids, always. And so I would stand out there and, I'd be like, and he would, after like 2.5 seconds, he'd be like, is it time to go in yet? I'd be like, you barely got the bike out of the garage. No, it's not time to go in. Come on. You're a kid. You don't want to play outside. And he's like, no, it's too hot.
Smart kid.
It's like, no, it's too hot. So, yeah.
But a lot of, wait, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We worked on it. He can ride a bike now, y'all. He can also swim. He can do all the normal kid stuff, but I had to pry him away from the Game Boy.
Right. That's interesting. And then has a lot of people are commenting on this right now. I'm curious in the chat, or a few people, 2 or 3, about writing being very emotional, because it is emotional kind of watching it anyway. So what's the difference once you take in the writing? Is it because you're like engrossed in it all day for hours, or what? Can you like explain that a little bit? And then
well, I'm not sure really what you mean, and I can't see the comments right now because I'm outside, but I mean, I can tell you that it was a lot more emotional. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be emotionally. I thought, I'm a professional. I can handle this. I can be objective. I understand the importance. I understand the responsibility, and I can be objective. And, and then I would get into it. And mostly during the research phase, I would find myself literally crying myself to sleep at night, and then waking up and shaking it off, and just feeling like it's important and I was called to do it. I mean, I really do feel called to do it. It does feel like what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just, there were a lot of times where I considered giving up, and I didn't actually finish. I'll wrap it up really quick. So I decided to add red wine to the story, and then I've got 4, and that didn't feel right to me, and I decided to make it 5 and add berry morphew. And so I was going to write one book with all 5 cases, because they're all so different, but they're all in Colorado courts, and I know the areas, and I know Colorado so well that I could go from one story to the other and stitch them together in a way that we're talking about due process, and the focus stays off of like the defendant and what color their underwear was on whatever day, and who's sleeping with I mean, I could get away from some of the stuff that we can be trapped by in looking at the stuff, and use due process and open source intelligence to kind of pull it all together, because I didn't want to write one book about any one defendant. And I still run into that. People think I'm writing a book about Leticia Stauch. I'm not. I mean, she's a case study. That's really all it is.
Right.
But anyway,
dumb comments already that are like, why are you giving her any attention?
I've gotten it all. Oh, I've gotten it all, and I'm saving them all. I might give a special shout out to those sons of bitches.
Yes, do a mean comments video. I love those. I save them.
Some of them, I can laugh about it now, but because of friends like you guys, I'm learning how to get that thick skin that's required, and I know that I'm going to be misunderstood by some, no matter how good of a job I do.
Yes. Yeah.
That's just the way it is, and that's okay. But anyway, so as the Stauch case continued to progress, everything that was happening, whether it was her going pro se and representing herself, or she pulled so many punches with like the federal lawsuit, and just all of these things that she did that gave me another major topic of a societal issue to talk about. Mental health, essay. There was always something else. And so as I'm writing about Leticia and writing about the other 4 cases, Leticia's got too heavy because there was just so much that I had to unpack and repack and unpack and repack. And then the way I talk about it is like, got one too many pairs of jeans or towels in the washing machine, and it throws it off balance, and it starts making that loud noise and shaking the house apart. That's what was happening with my book. The Stauch case just threw threw it all out of balance. And so I decided to do it as a series. So the Stauch book will be first, and then the Frazee book is second, and then Red Wine, and then Watson Morphew. And even though Morphew didn't go to trial, there's still a whole damn book in that
Oh,
case.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That affidavit is huge in itself. I mean, I think it's like
Right.
100 pages, the arrest affidavit.
Right. And you know, the district attorney is not always the damn hero.
I love, oh yeah, not in that one. Definitely not. I love that you're doing that. I'm really interested in at least 3 out of 5 of those. I really want to help share about your book when it comes out. I want to help. Oh, you deserve the support. So, yeah. And then, I was going to ask Jen a question, which I've totally lost. It's left my mind. So,
Sorry.
that's okay. It's not your fault. I'm trying to watch chat while we're going to, so sometimes that's why it happens. But Meg says, ask her what was up between Leticia and her attorney. Just figured I would ask what you guys thought about that, even though I kind of know, but since the chat is curious.
No, it's a great question, and it's one that I haven't had answered yet. Although I did receive an email from Josh Tellini this week, or no, at the end of last week. I got an email
Ooh.
from him on Friday. And so I had emailed Caitlin Craig, the private investigator for the defense, and asked her for an interview and given her a heads up what some of my questions would be. And she had given me her personal email address. So here I'm thinking that I'm going to get an interview with, you know, private investigator for the defense. And I had so many questions. Anyway, so I send my questions to her personal email address, and then I get a response from Josh Tellini. And I instead of Caitlin, let me open it up. It was real brief, and of course I shot him back a big one. Okay.
Oh, how interesting.
Where is it? Josh Tellini. Okay, so he emailed me 4 days ago, Friday, May 19th at 11:51 a.m. It says, Dear Ms. Knight, my investigator forwarded me the email you sent her requesting an interview regarding the Leticia Stauch case. Ms. Crack is not permitted to do any emails for ethical reasons. Thank you, Joshua Tellini. I think he meant interviews, but so me being me, you know, I'm not as delicate with you know, the professional players in a case as I am with the family members and friends.
Right.
So I responded to him with all of my questions for him, you know, which are different than the ones that I had for Caitlin. And originally I was going to send them to Will Cook because Chris, you know, who knows these people, you know, Chris told me that Josh Tellini is all business and he's very serious and he probably wouldn't give me an interview, but he thought that Will Cook might. And Will Cook is the one that was, you know, all but snuggling with his client that day that they were going over the Google searches, which was disgusting. But let me go to my sent messages.
Here, I'm going to drop Pink Jalapenos. The Nightbot's going to drop Jen Lou and Jen Crumb Curious right now.
So I said, Mr. Tellini, thank you for your response. I'm interested in learning more about your experience in the Stauch case, mainly as an independent study in due process, using this particular case as an example. If nothing else, Ms. Stauch provided the opportunity to discuss many societal issues that could use some public attention. At the end of the day, any good book is actually about its audience. And one of the biggest challenges in dealing with what I call social media circus geeks is that these people seem terribly focused on personal matters that don't necessarily apply in the courtroom. The point is, what can we learn from the case? And I don't mean what can we learn about the Stauch marriage or about whether or not Harley Hunt was involved. I'm wondering if you can help me find a few of the more relevant answers. One, why was it not clear when any witness left the stand whether or not they were released from subpoena? Was that worked out through motions prior to trial? And then the next one is, it seemed that the defendant was potentially correct with regard to the confiscation of her cell phone on 1/29/2020 before they had an actual search warrant in hand. I noticed a motion to suppress its contents based on the vague nature of the warrant, but why not pursue the possible Fourth Amendment violation? And the next one, at any point, was the defendant tethered to either the defense table or the floor? And was there a shock device installed on the belt under her clothing? And the
Ooh.
next one, is it true that the defendant was using earplugs of some sort during the presentation of evidence? I saw him, but anyway, I left that part out. I just want to know what he
Yeah, but
says.
but you want, that's a good question to ask.
Right.
I
Yeah.
like to ask questions that I know the answer to see if somebody's going to be honest with me. Just little games I
Right.
play.
Right. And I'm asking these questions of an attorney. And an attorney
Right.
is only supposed to ask questions that they already know the answers to. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So the next one is what we were talking about. So I said, your client seems like an incredibly litigious individual, like she's unreasonably prone to go to law in order to settle disputes. Were you ever concerned that she would turn on your firm after the trial and file suit like she has with former employers, CJC, Trinity, WellPath, etc.? The next one is, whose idea was it to retain the services of Dr. Dorothy Lewis? I was always curious if this was Ms. Stauch's idea or if the referral came through the Office of Alternate Defense Counsel. Did you interview any other potential experts in the mental health field? And Jen, I think that was your question.
Ooh.
Oh, you know what? I
Or was
think
it Allie?
it might have been. What did I
It was
ask?
one of
No,
you two.
I can't remember what I asked.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Um,
I'm very curious in the answer to that anyway. So it
Me
could have been
too.
me. Yeah. So it either one. Who knows? We talk about so much stuff. I don't
If
know.
I didn't ask
Right.
it, I wish I had.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a
Well-
damn good question.
I think it was you. But if I tried to look through my notes right now, I would probably resemble Dr. Lewis, so I'm just not going to.
Go
So I
check your
said, how
purse.
much?
That's where
Right.
that's where Dorothy keeps all her special stuff is in her purse.
Well, she did say that, remember she answered the question about, why did Leticia switch in front of her and not anybody else? And she said magic. So if I go over and look at my purse right now and I find a confession in Latin, then we'll know that it really was magic.
Yes, exactly.
So the next question is, how much access did the defendant have to her discovery evidence, and how voluminous was it exactly? I mean, I want to know how many pages it was at the end. I said, I'm aware of letters, emails, and phone calls to the district attorney's office and Judge Werner. Did you also receive correspondence from the general public with regard to this case? If so, can you share any examples of said correspondence? I was in attendance at several pretrial hearings and remember some of the trouble with getting the defendant to appear in person and on time. I also remember her snapping at the judge a couple of times. How were you able to get her to understand the importance of compliance in such matters? And was that your biggest challenge, her compliance? Leticia was trading letters with many different people for the first year or so of her incarceration, and I've been in touch with a handful of those random strangers. She seems to have stopped communicating with them all around the same time. Did she stop communicating with all these people to include reporters at your request and suggestion?
Ooh, that's a good
And then I
question.
just said, thank you for your time and consideration. Defense attorneys don't get enough credit for the importance of the services they provide. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Jennifer Knight.
Oh, that was
Oh,
so
I like
well
that. I
written.
love it.
I do too.
Yeah,
That
so-
was good. I hope he writes back.
Yeah, I don't expect him to, but I did it anyway.
Look at Melanie.
Because then at least I can say, no response.
Right. Melody says she emailed him a few days after the verdict. I thanked him for protecting the Constitution and her rights. I got a short but kind reply, which I was not expecting. That's
Nice.
What
Yeah.
did you guys see them drinking after each other? And were they drink? Okay, so I saw the attorneys. We watched that together. But did Leticia drink out of that cup as well?
I didn't see Leticia drink out of it, but it was just right in front of her, and then she moved it away from in front of her.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think she drank from it.
Okay, so before I play this video for you, let me ask you, Jen, how has been like your experience in covering the case? Like, and just from in your words, what has it done to you emotionally, physically, just all of it? Your experience covering the case and any major takeaways, what kind of brought you to it? And yeah.
Well, Gannon reminded me of my boys. There's something, and I don't know how to put this in a way that won't come across wrong. So just be patient with me, you guys. There's some cases just capture you in a way that others don't. And it's not because I care about when I see the missing children, when I go through my feed on YouTube and I see the posts and stuff like that, they all capture me. But there was something different and special about Gannon, and I don't know what exactly it was. I don't know. I can't put it into words what it was about. Something about his eyes. I don't know. They were just, I don't know. He just had a light about him. And then when Leticia started pulling all of her shenanigans, it was fascinating to me. But I really got fascinated when she decided to represent herself, because I always think to myself, my God, listen, I am a fairly reasonably smart person. Okay. I mean, I know a little bit about a lot of things, right? But there is no way in hell that I would ever have the cojones to get up there and be like, yo, I'm going to represent myself. And I thought to myself, is she setting this up for trying to plead insanity? Because that's what I thought. Only a crazy person, right? Or like devilishly crazy, not legally insane, but just like crazy like a fox, sly, would opt to represent themselves, right? And then she changed her plea, and then I was just like, this bitch, I couldn't. And then, but for me, I think my biggest takeaway from the trial, one of them, was the phone calls. And the reason why is because I think those phone calls are really indicative about what it must be like in that household most of the time.
Oh, yes. Agree.
And I thought to myself, I can't imagine. Listen, I'm not a perfect parent at all by any means. Like now I am with number 4. My other 3 were like practice kids. Like if you don't have it down by the 4th, you shouldn't be parenting. Just kidding. But I'm not a perfect parent. Every parent makes mistakes, right? But I can't imagine growing up or not even growing up, just living in a home with all that conflict. And it just seemed like there was so much conflict all the time. Like Leticia's very high strung and she's never chill about anything. And she's always like,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
she's always like flipping out over anything and everything. And I that kind of tension, I don't do well with that. And I can't imagine that could be good for kids either. And it made me feel sad for Gannon and Lena, because I don't think people realize I don't think Leticia and Al realized at the time. Maybe now Al does, but that kind of environment leaves a mark on a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And I think probably the reason that I am the way I am is because God loved my mom. She loved us to the moon and back. We were her pride and joy. She would move heaven and earth from us, but my mom was very high strung and she would kind of flip out. Not like Leticia flip out, but she was kind of extra. Okay. And I said to myself, I never wanted to live in a house like that. And it's not like me and my husband have never fought. We fight. We're regular people, right? I mean, have you met me? I mean, I can be annoying. I know it. We've had arguments, but not like I would try very, very hard not to have any like knockdown, drag out fights in front of the kids. It's not, I tried to walk a line, because it was chaotic like that in my household. When my parents fought, they were one end of the spectrum or the other. It would be a loud knockdown, drag out fight, or it would be complete silent treatment. And we're not talking about like few hours. I remember one time my dad and my mom didn't talk to each other for like a week. And me and my sister were passing messages. And I remember how that felt. And I had that same feeling when I was listening to those phone calls. And it made me feel sad for Lena and Gannon. It just did. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of those takeaways.
Oh, I completely agree. I do, because that whole family, you can just tell based on the dynamic between Al and Leticia that everything depended, like her mood controlled everything. You know what I mean? And yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like everything that had anything and everything in that house was like an act of Congress. There was like, a debate for 11 billion hours, then, and over small things, things that in this grand scheme of things really don't mean that much. But it seemed like there would be this, long drawn out debate for everything. You couldn't ever just get a straight yes or no answer. And that to me, it's just too much. And also, dang you, Allie, this is what I was telling you the other day about how disarming you are. I probably never would have shared that on my own channel, but for whatever reason.
I love that, though. I love that because, it's special. And thank you for sharing. That's funny. Tiffany says like she's on speed or something, and that's so interesting, Tiff, because we did this and we watched this old interview on Melissa's channel the other night, us three and Melissa, and
oh yes,
during that interview, Gannon's best friend's mom talks about that night that Gannon went missing and going to the house, and she says, Leticia showed me blunts rolled up blunts, and then she says that she had meth. And
actually what she said was very specific. She said crystal meth, which
yes, and that is specific. I thought the same thing when she said that, Jen, because I'm like, because someone said something, could she had that as bath salts or to look like meth, and I'm like, crystal meth is not, it's different than just meth. It literally looks like clear crystals.
Well, ice looks like that. Meth used to be a powder.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it
but now it's like they just call it ice. But the fact that she called it crystal meth is a term that people who don't know about drugs use. It's like calling hydrocodone by its brand name, Norco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, you guys, meth. Hey, Mystic, good to see you. Yes, Lily. So the neighbor, which look, she said a lot of shit that just turned out not to be true. She also said straight up that she witnessed Al loading his gun and that they had believed, and even the channel creator was kind of going along with this, that Al helped Leticia cover it up and shot Gannon. And, so there was a lot of stuff that was off, but I still think what she said is interesting about that night, because that's like her firsthand account of what she witnessed.
Donna has it. Crank. That's what it used to be called back in the day, was crank.
Crank is like what they make in the bathtubs and in the 2-liter bottles and stuff. And crystal meth, you make that
looks like dirty ice.
Yeah, and it literally, it looks like ice. It
like
literally
ice.
looks like crystals. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. But all that stuff, it was weird that she said it so, like she was bobbling around the blunt, like she didn't know what the difference between like a blunt and a joint was, right? Mm-hmm. But then she just busts out with and crystal meth, and I was like, what did she just say?
I know. Well, what? We called it crystal when I was addicted to that crap. Powdery meth is cut with some. See, where I was from, crystal meth was literally they only called crystal meth the real clear ice, and everything else was crank, bathtub meth. People were making this
shake and bake.
Shake and bake, exactly. Tiffany, I got manic and speed vibes too, and she barely slept. She, we know she was up every night. Like, so it's really interesting. I don't know. Surely they did a drug test on her, right?
Well, I'm sure when they took her during intake into the jail, because remember when she got arrested, she told what's his name, Grusing, that she was pregnant. So surely they tested her.
Mm. Interesting. And then bath salts, somebody said, I think bath salts is an internet rumor. Back when I bought bath salts like at a head shop and tried it. And it literally was like speed. It was just like Adderall or even similar to meth. It was.
I always heard that bath salts were supposed to be like, they were supposed to be like that potpourri, that K9 or whatever it was called, or K2. K2. That's what I'm K9. Jesus fuck, Jen Lou. K2. But like Coke. I don't know. I wouldn't be doing anything that literally says not to ingest.
Well,
That's just me.
This was like it was sold at the head shops.
Yes, where they sold K2.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. And Cape Cod Mama, I agree. I don't believe Gannon was messing with any of that stuff. I really don't. But, he wasn't, his own ADHD meds weren't in his system.
I'd have to know. I'm curious what the half-life of Vyvanse is in a system.
Let me look it up.
Because I feel like if they were able to find the hydrocodone, I feel like they should have been able to find some of his Vyvanse left.
Me too, because hydros are out of your system in like 3 days. Okay, Vyvanse is usually out of the system in 3 days. Stay up in the body for 3 days. Half-life is less than 1 hour. Hold on. But he was on the, I bet you.
Extended release.
Yes. Extended release. Okay, let me play this I thought we could watch this old interview of the DA right when Leticia was arrested. I'm going to play this for a second, okay? Just so we can see what it is. And if you guys missed it, we went through the life insurance documents and stuff. I'm curious if you're just coming in. She had all the documents and, it was that was quite interesting as well, but okay.
It just is interesting to me that he didn't have it. Vyvanse came out after my son. I worked with his doctor and his teachers because I had seen something on MTV, and it was kids who took ADHD medication, right? But they'd been taking it since they were like 9 or 10 years old, and now they were 14, 15, 16, 17, and then some of them were 18 and older. And the primary complaint amongst the boys was that it interrupted their puberty. They were sort of, and so I didn't want that to happen. And so I worked with our doctor my son's doctor and his teachers, and he was off of it by the time he would have hit puberty. But so that Vyvanse wasn't around back then or it wasn't anything that I knew about. My son was on Strattera and Adderall.
The extended release is 10 to 12 hours. Now, let me look up the half-life of hydrocodone because,
they did say too that he didn't take that medication on the weekends.
Right, that's what someone had said in the chat. I didn't even know that.
I don't that to me doesn't make sense. Like, why would you? It would be like if you were given Prozac as an antidepressant, right? But you only took it during, the week when you work. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why you would not give your kid.
Yeah, you're just putting them through
their
a bunch
medication.
Yeah, withdrawal and ups and downs. So it's between 3.5 to 4.5 hours for hydrocodone. So Vyvanse should have certainly showed up in the liver if he was taking it, even if it wasn't on the weekends, I would think. But I don't, he wouldn't have taken it that Monday, obviously, but Friday he would have. So I don't know. I don't know.
But Vyvanse is different. Like I said, my son was not on Vyvanse. He was on Strattera and Adderall. And I remember his dad he was like, well, I don't want him to have it during the summer. And I was like, you can't do that to him. Do you understand what this medication is? No wonder he's acting like he's acting. He's going through withdrawals. He's miserable. He's either going to be on it or he's not going to be on it. But you can't you cannot put him through withdrawals. What is wrong with you? He's 10. Oh, I was so pissed.
Jen,
But
I
yeah,
don't think that Jen is saying that they need to remain at a certain level, like SSRIs and stuff like that. I think she's just saying like the up and down and the withdrawals, and it's just not, yeah. So I don't know.
yeah, I don't know how Vyvanse works. I can only tell you, because my son, none of my children were ever on Vyvanse. I can only tell you the directions that I was given. This was a long time ago. I mean, he's going to be 28 this year. So this is,
There's actually
several years ago, 20 years ago.
There's a conspiracy that a lot of that has to do, a lot of I don't even know if it's a conspiracy. There is evidence that shows that some of the dyes and stuff in our foods give kids these symptoms of ADHD and adults. And it's really interesting when you watch parents who change their diet rather than giving the Adderall and stuff. I've been watching some of that on TikTok. Just because I'm concerned always with what I'm feeding my kids and what, the dyes, all the ingredients, all the things. Like there's a lot of bad stuff in our food. The USA is just horrible at their standards with food. Europe and, most of any other country actually has like way better standards. There are many ingredients that are banned in the UK, banned in Canada, banned in Europe that we allow here, because it's cheap. And it's just, so I find that really interesting. There we go. Dr. Feingold's diet started that theory on dyes in food. And it's really interesting to look into how their behavior changes with that change in the food.
Yeah. See, all I can say is about all of that with ADHD medication is I can only tell you what I went through, but what I went through, I consulted with our doctor, with my son's doctor, with his pediatrician. And so that's what I would always defer to. I would never, ever, ever tell another parent or give advice on that. The only advice I would ever give another parent would be that you should talk to your doctor about it. That's it. I just was curious because I don't know anything about Vyvanse. So I was just curious why they would take a break in the weekend.
Right. A lot of people say that they don't give it to their kids on weekends and summers. It's very interesting. Okay, let's watch this for a minute and see. I just want to take a step back in time, back to the beginning, real fast.
Your Deputy District Attorney.
I love him. You guys, just let me say this before we start. From this moment, like from these interviews that he did in the very beginning, I've loved him since then. And, I remember hearing that he had a really good reputation and record and stuff, but I just felt like he put a lot of care and concern. I don't know. I think he did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of fill us in on what happened. So today we filed formal charges against Leticia Stauch in the Gannon Stauch case. Count 1 is murder in the first degree, child under 12, position of trust. That count carries a potential life in prison without parole sentence. Count 2 is child abuse resulting in death. That is a class 2 felony. The sentencing range on that is 16 years to 48 years with 5 years of parole. The 2 other charges remaining are tampering with the deceased human body, which is a class 3 felony, and then tampering with physical evidence, which is a class 6 felony.
Can you touch on some of the big points in there today? Obviously, the probable cause was a big discussion.
Yeah, so the probable cause remains sealed, and the investigation is still under investigation and remains active. So the judge took up the issue of whether he was going to unseal the probable cause affidavit to release it to the public. He deferred on that decision and is probably going to issue a written ruling at some point.
The judge wanted to keep the affidavit secret, and someone ended up releasing it early. They were saying they were going to release it anyways. She actually was charged with that. And then let me say, Dynamite, actually, if you look into even skincare, makeup ingredients, and our foods, and you look at just Google what ingredients does the U.S. allow in their food, makeup, and skincare that Europe does not. And I'm telling you, you're going to be mind blown. It will send you down a rabbit hole because I don't understand why we do it. Because I don't know. There's a lot of smart people here and we should know better. But Just my thoughts. Okay, let me see.
Suggest something that he's maybe not prepared to do. But that's the status of the probable cause at this point.
And he asked if you would oppose that. You said.
Right. So the purposes, I think I discussed it at the last setting. The purposes for sealing warrants is really to protect the sanctity of an investigation. We feel like we've got the person that we felt was responsible for the crimes. So our issues on the investigative side have expired. That's why we are unopposed or not taking a position on that motion.
They said there was 107 warrants in Colorado alone, and then there's more back in South Carolina. Is that correct?
That's the estimate that I gave, which is 107 warrants that we've had in this case. There were only a few in South Carolina. The vast majority were in our area here.
Can you say anything about what those are for? I mean, are we talking electronic? You mentioned video as well.
So I mentioned in the courtroom that there's lots of evidence in this case. I'm not going to get into specifics. I want to reiterate that I'm not going to try this case in the media, so I'm not going to be talking about facts of the case. And again, the charges that we filed are merely allegations.
And you know what? They really did keep it very tight. You know, besides that leak, I didn't see them answering anything, talking about any of that stuff. Ooh, Dynamite, you got to come back after you look that up and let me know what you think. Any thoughts, you guys?
I think that I think keeping look, I want to know all the things, right? But I also understand why they have to keep it tight, and I think that that's the best. I think that had they not kept it tight-lipped, I think we would be facing a lot of what we're facing with the Brian Kohberger situation, where for whatever reason, I don't know why this case didn't take off in that way, because there wasn't a whole lot of information coming out that was confirmed, but there was a lot of stuff being talked, like on YouTube and in Facebook groups and stuff like that. But it didn't, for lack of a better word, blow up the way that the Idaho 4 case has, with all the speculation and you know, I don't know. I respect due process, and I would much rather wait for the trial for it all to come out, so we make sure we have the right person on charged with the right crime, right? Then no, I can be patient. It's difficult. This is the only time when I can be patient, is when it comes to like true crime. Anything else, I cannot be patient for. I have no patience for it. None.
Well, look, I mean, Al was being blamed as literally there were people saying he shot Gannon. I mean, can you imagine? That is so sad.
I can't. And then the things that were going around about Landon, like just that, like she didn't, like essentially the vibe was that she was thrown off and didn't want her and abandon her children. That's really what the overall sentiment. And I don't think that's true.
Yep.
And I can't imagine losing my child in that way, right? Murdered, not murdered by a stranger, murdered by somebody who took care of him every single day, and my other daughter and my other child as well, right? And then for people to have the audacity to call me a shitty parent, and that I abandoned my kids, and that, all the rumors and all the stuff that came out about her. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine
either. She was slandered. Oh my God. Even up until, even in the whole trial, really. I mean, you're sitting there and you're trying to get justice for your kid. And I don't know. Melissa said the other day that when she spoke, it was like Gannon flowed through her. And I thought that was like the perfect way to describe that, because it's true. Like, she had so much grace after just being completely destroyed.
And then you listen to those phone calls, right? And look, I think I think Landon knew that Leticia talks smack about her, right? But it's one thing to know, but then it's another thing to really know and know exactly what was said about you. And that would be difficult for me too, to sit there and be like, this bitch, you murdered my son. in the most brutal way that you could think of. And you have the audacity to sit here and talk shit about me on a phone call while you're making up lies. I don't know. I would like to say, I would hope to God that I never have to find out. And I would like to believe that I just can't imagine. And the amount of restraint that she exercised in not just snatching that woman all the way across that, just snatch her up bald headed. I don't know how she didn't do it, because I definitely would have wanted to. And I'm sure she did want to, but how she controlled herself and didn't just snap, because I don't think anybody would have blamed her.
Yeah. I agree. I wouldn't have. I'd have been like, go. Yes. Because there were moments I was watching that and I told you guys, all I could think about was how easy would it be to come up behind her in that courtroom and just put her in a headlock or something like that.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes. Or she could have, wait, one last thing and then I'll shut up. She could have taken that when she read her victim impact statement. She could have read that victim's impact statement and addressed the judge while simultaneously reading Leticia for absolute filth. And she chose to take the higher road and not do that. So, You know what I mean? That's,
I agree.
If she ever was struggling with anything ever, whatever, it seems to me that at this point, that's not the same person. So people stumble, people fall. It's not the fall, it's not the stumble, it's the get up. And she's gotten back up and she's doing good, So isn't that what we all want? Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more with every word.
Now I'll let Jen speak, because that was very rude.
No, it wasn't. And I always love hearing from you. No, I was going to ask you, I'm curious with, how has the secrecy of the courts affected what you're doing, writing the books? You're trying to get as much info as possible. And you guys, I've dropped it already. I'm going to do it again. She has a website where she's uploaded, a lot of these court documents and things so that people can go through them all. But yeah, how has that affected that, and what are your thoughts on the rest that we were saying?
Oh, well, there's still been a ton of information out there, and especially given the amount of shenanigans that Leticia pulled off with, all of her twists and turns and lawsuits and going pro se and, all of that. There's still a ton of information out there. And at least we did have the WebEx. Following the Stauch case compared to following the Frazee case is a whole different thing. And it's the same district attorney's office. When Frazee was, when Frazee's case was going on in the courts, the district attorney was Dan May. And he was a district attorney when Gannon was killed, but Michael Allen was elected in 2020. And so early on in the case, Dan May and Michael Allen were both at the Stauch residence, pretty early on. But, even with everything that they did suppress and keep sealed, we still had a good amount of access, and they didn't have to do WebEx. And, in fact, there were there was one YouTube creator, I use that loosely, in particular, that was a real problem. At one point she was on the WebEx. It was before they forced you to mute your microphones. Now when you go into the WebEx, you don't have the option to turn on your camera or your microphone. But when those pretrial hearings were going on back in the beginning, there was a YouTube creator that, left her microphone on and she's saying all kinds of stuff. And it just,
God. Embarrassing.
And then, yeah, secondhand embarrassment. Absolutely. And then,
spoiler alert, it was not me, y'all. I have mastered the WebEx.
No, it was a tarot card reader from Canada. But anyway, she also was purposely streaming. She was live streaming the pretrial hearings when you were not supposed to. And on a live stream, she actually said, well, I'm in Canada. What are they going to do about it? Well, they're going to take away the WebEx from us all, is what they're going to do about it, you dumb hoe. I mean,
Right.
I was so mad. Anyway, so,
And
given that those kind of things happened and we still had access to WebEx, like I know there were a lot of issues with WebEx, that day with Dorothy Lewis and the juror questions were muted. That was insanely frustrating. And then, like, during Kevin Clark's testimony, there was a good portion where it was muted. And, like we couldn't hear the interview with Dorothy Lewis very well. There were a lot of times where, the cameras weren't great, the sound wasn't great, but it was still pretty good access,
right.
given, and so I appreciated that. But like in the
Versus
Frazee case, we
Lori
got
Vallow
most of
here.
everything. Right, or Vallow, for that matter. I naturally am going to talk about the Colorado cases, but Vallow's a
Right.
good example.
Well,
You
what
know,
happened with Frazee in the court coverage, and also I remember just when she had her Leticia had her pretrial hearing, and we
hmm
were only allowed, like, because I streamed that. And I
hmm
remember it, like, at the very beginning, we found out about his defensive wounds and stuff. And, but, anyways, we had to, like, it was live tweets only.
right.
But yeah, with Frazee, I mean, what was the court access, like media access with that one?
None. None. You weren't even allowed to draw a sketch in the courtroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Idaho Charlie says, did anyone cover that? I'd love to go back and listen. You know what? I did not, but I watched some of it, and I would love to do a live on that. I
We
find it
haven't
so.
talked. There's a lot of cases we haven't. Should cover but haven't covered for whatever that we followed, but we just didn't cover.
Yeah, that one, didn't they find like one of her teeth or something, and then his girlfriend told about cleaning up, and they found some blood, but they never recovered her? Or,
They found a piece of a tooth and it wasn't enough to connect it to the victim.
oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot with that case. And that's the one where the district attorney came out afterwards and said we did a deal with the devil because they absolutely would not have been able to prosecute him without her testimony. And she
What's her
lied
name?
and she lied and
Kristen?
she lied. Crystal Lee, her maiden name
Oh
was Kenny.
gosh,
Okay.
I remember. Now that part I remember
Yeah, she
very
lied and
well.
she lied and she lied, and then all of a sudden she got an attorney and decided to work with the feds, and then all of a sudden they believed everything she had to say. I
Wow.
mean, it was
I
a
mean,
lot.
well,
I'm not saying Frazie's innocent. Frazie's where he
no.
belongs, but she was not credible.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's our case in the U.S., but Canada has the Ken and Barbie.
Oh,
Carla
Homolka,
Homolka
yeah,
and Paul Bernardo, because they made a deal with Carla, and
right.
then they got a hold of those tapes and
Oh, the
realized
Barbie
that
case is so
yes,
interesting.
I read I read a book. I think the book at the time, because this was like right after the case had been, was over. And so I think this was one of the first books, and it was incredibly graphic. It broke my heart for those girls, but I was floored that when they found out that Carla had lied, because the deal was she said she was, forced to do all of the things, but those videotapes show something completely different.
Right.
And but I guess I don't know what the laws are in Canada. I only know that if that had been in the United States, they would have taken her plea deal away immediately.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the deal. When you get a plea deal to testify against someone, you have to be telling the truth. And if it comes out later that you weren't telling the truth, then they rescind the plea deal. That's part of the deal. So when
Right.
they found out that Carla wasn't telling the truth, I couldn't believe that they didn't just yank that plea deal from her.
Yeah.
But whatever. Sorry to interrupt again.
No, you weren't interrupting. No. Oh, and I was going to say, back on the topic of like Landon and her strength, she was accused of a lot of things, and we don't know what was true and what wasn't true. But a lot of people would have been tempted to defend themselves. which, she did some of, but not in like a Jerry Springer sort of way, which, a true drug addict who abandoned her children, people would understand if she was everywhere she could possibly be, acting a fool and screaming about lies and her reputation. And so it seems to me that Landon has been a really good example of letting your actions speak for themselves, and the way that she's handled herself, like even if even part of the things that were said about her is true, like you said, I mean, she's obviously not the same person if those things are true, but she let her actions speak for her. And if she was the total piece of shit that Leticia claimed she was, she would not have behaved in the way that she has been able to hold it together and behave. She hasn't behaved like a person who, hates her kids and is all strung out on dope and men. So
Agree.
Right. I will say that that's the one part of the best friend's mom that I believed when she said that the way that Landon had been described to her is most definitely not the person that arrived.
right.
And that she was, and that part of her story I actually did believe, but that doesn't, I mean, I don't know, it doesn't really prove that she knew what she was talking about, because I think a lot of people had that reaction.
And the way that she wanted to be part of the inner circle so bad, like the things you guys pointed out with her language about that, like, I don't know, I just didn't, gross, I didn't like that.
Right. Like she wanted
Yeah.
to be the gatekeeper of the information coming out.
Yeah. And she called herself the family. Like, she's like, yeah, we have, or you remember that one part when she's like,
Yes.
it's like, what do you mean we, lady? You just met them.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I've never understood that there will be people that become part of a case and then they become the gatekeepers for all of the information on the case, particularly when it's particularly heinous to me, and I have little patience for it when the child is currently missing.
Right.
Like,
Well, could you imagine the police that had to deal with her?
Oh my God.
they don't
no.
get paid enough. This is why I could never be a cop, because I would not be. There's no way. Like Dr. B and I have talked a million times about interrogations, and we're roasting them or whatever. There's no way that we would be able to behave in a professional capacity with some of these people. I don't think. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine me sitting across from Jodi Arias and trying to confront her with the evidence? I would have lost my patience after about 8.5 minutes. I've been like, look, cut the bullshit, Jodi. It's me and you in here, okay? I know you're lying and you know you're lying. I wouldn't make it.
Okay, Lisa says, who are you guys talking about? So Lisa, the other day, Crime Curious actually had this interview that we've been talking about forever. Melissa and actually Teresa from Criminality had been telling me this interview existed. I can't, it's gone now. Teresa's like, I went back and looked, it's gone. No one knew where it was. Well, Crime Curious actually had it.
In her purse.
Yeah, just had it.
It was in my purse with Leticia's Latin confession.
Yeah.
Magic.
And she emailed that to Melissa, and we watched it on her channel the other night. If you go, I just dropped the link for Nightbot. Nightbot just dropped Melissa's link. If you go to her channel, it is it says the lost interview. It's just from like a couple of days ago.
We did it on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. However, there's a lot of false information in there and stuff. Okay, you guys, so before we go, what is next for you guys? And as far as this case and other cases and YouTube, and what are you guys thinking next?
Well, I'm still on my quest for world domination. That hasn't come to fruition yet. So on the side, I will be I will be doing the dramatic reading, of course. I'm going to keep an eye on this federal lawsuit that Leticia has started.
Oh, yeah.
I'm waiting for Boone. What else? I want to work on that documentary. My daughter graduates on the 2nd of June. And my sister's coming in town, and she'll be here until the 6th. So from like the 2nd until the 6th, I'm going to be incommunicado. Like, I mean, I'll still talk to my, messenger friends and whatnot, but not going to do anything YouTube wise. I'm just going to take that time because this documentary that I want to do with the West Memphis 3 is a huge undertaking. And I want to, give it my best, but it's going to take me a while to do it because I still plan on covering, I want to get into, talk more about Koberger and what's coming for him, what we, all that stuff. And whatever you want. And then we're still doing our deep dive on the B, what did I call them? The B team in the Vallow case. The Melanie B's. Yeah, the Melanie BPs, the Melanie G's, the Ians, the David Warwicks, the Zulemas. Yeah. Because they deserve it.
Baseball Mom, I'm looking right now, and yes, they do deserve it. I can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to all that stuff, actually. Many of the things. Actually, Hot Pink Jalapenos didn't know about the lawsuit. So she, you guys, can you guys explain it better than me? And
what? Explain what better than you?
The lawsuit.
Oh, Jen, let Jen do that. She's way better at explaining that.
Yeah.
Well, Leticia's been threatening a civil lawsuit for years. I mean, she went into the jail telling people that she was going to, quote, win one heck of a civil lawsuit against CJC for the amendment violations. And so she's been systematically setting up the food services provider, the medical care provider, and specific deputies for a civil lawsuit. So she's filed a federal lawsuit alleging that her rights have been violated and that she's suffered at the hands of WellPath, who's the health services provider for the jail, that she suffered due to their medical negligence, and then also First Amendment violations from the food services provider because she requires a kosher diet and they have not been giving her the proper kosher diet, and they're infringing upon her freedom to practice, her religion, which, she's claimed, to be a soldier for Christ, but apparently also requires a kosher diet. And she's been talking about that with the police department as well. Since before she got arrested, she was talking about filing lawsuits. And so she's acting as her own attorney, and she filed a federal lawsuit against the jail and the deputies and WellPath and Trinity. And so far she hasn't filed one against the sheriff's office, but she says she's going to do that as well. And I would be shocked if we didn't see some sort of sexual harassment lawsuit just because of what happened that day in court, because she'll capitalize on anything. She'll exploit anything that she possibly can. And she is no stranger to civil court cases and criminal court cases for that matter. She knows how to get out of things. She knows how to use the technicalities. I do have the paperwork for, she filed a sexual harassment lawsuit in 2016 against her assistant principal from the 2012-2013 school year. And originally I thought that she won that lawsuit, but she didn't win it. She ended up withdrawing it and they settled out of court. So in 2017, she received a settlement from a school district in South Carolina. And that was also right around the time that her teaching license had been suspended. And she just really likes to sue people. She knows just enough about the law to use it against people as a weapon, same as the Constitution.
Yeah. Now that the one from the school, wasn't that, because we heard a little bit about that, and I think that we heard that he was like a major creep, but didn't she? Okay, yeah. And then I think you actually said that. And then she accused one of Al's friends in the army. And then, so I won't be surprised if we hear accusations against the lawyer. And look at Christy Lee Dolls, though, you guys. I don't want to miss that. You to miss that. She called her Sutisha.
That's funny.
Leticia's Tisha.
Yeah. So what's next for you, Crime Curious, in your channel? I know you're finishing your first book, or the first book of the series, but
Yeah, so the goal is 5 books in 5 years.
ooh.
I also need to recover financially from my unhealthy obsession with writing these books. I put myself in quite the predicament, but I'm fine.
Well,
But I
did you
need to
have a
get.
Kickstarter? Somebody said you had a Kickstarter, and I will share that if it's still up. I don't really know much about that. That's like crowdfunding, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah. So I didn't meet the goal. That was over on May 10th, and I didn't meet the goal. So, but that's okay. I mean, there's lots of things in the works, and I'll be fine.
Well,
It's
can we
but
pre-order the books yet, or what's the deal with that?
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna wait until the pre-orders can come through Amazon, rather than deal with it all right now.
Yeah, because
But
I'll
that's okay. I
pre-order.
mean, I'm close. I'm close. So so there's definitely that. But then I'm going to continue doing stuff on YouTube, and I am going to cover other cases. I don't know what those cases are going to be yet. I haven't made that much of a decision. But I have a call with Chris and with Lee on Thursday because they both want to do more YouTube stuff. So I'm going to be helping both of them start channels as well.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so there's lots of stuff like right on the horizon. But for sure, I'm looking at 5 books in 5 years, and just getting my life back together after being so dedicated to it for so long. Now that it's finally happening, it's like, I'm almost there.
That's exciting. I'm so excited for you. I really am.
Yeah. It seems like forever, but I mean, it's really only been a few years, but still.
Dude, I don't know why I got kicked backstage.
What?
Yeah, I
On
don't
your own
know.
show?
Yeah, but I came in on my phone just now, but I didn't hit go backstage. But the next thing you know, both of them went backstage, and then you guys stayed up. I don't know.
Well,
But
I'm
what are you?
telling you should write to Gage from StreamYard. He would love to hear from you.
You definitely saw 2 alleys. Well, oh, Adrian, I will definitely be doing YouTube. I'll be following all the, Henrietta, Madeline, Sarah Boone, Brian Koberger, Summer Wells, Harmony Montgomery. Her dad's about, oh my God, his murder trial won't be long. He has a weapons trial first, and that's coming up. But I'm looking forward to that because he is an absolute monster. And, so I'll definitely be here with you guys.
I would also like to use my my connections with former FBI people to catch the YouTube peen bomber.
Yes.
Oh my God, yes. I would love that. And then I'll tell, Ping Bomber, when we find out who you are, everybody's going to find out, buddy.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah. How dare you do that to my friend? And on that day, too, of all times to do
God.
it.
Right.
Rat bastard. What a rat bastard.
Absolutely disgusting. I know, Jen Lou, you know a lot about Summer's case, but I'm curious, have you followed any of that Summer Wells case?
Oh yeah. I followed it really closely until I just couldn't take it anymore with the drama.
Right.
And I'll still look into it from time to time. But if I start getting, that, bugs crawling on my skin sort of feeling because, I'm way too deep in the muck, then I get right back out of it. If I can't learn something, then I want nothing to do with it. That case for me was one of those tricky ones that I got sucked all the way into, and I got caught up in the drama. And then, I
Yes.
end up, in the fetal position in the shower trying to figure
Well,
out what went wrong.
it's tough because this is the thing. Her parents are part of the case, and what they have to say could be valuable, right? So I understand why people want to know. I even want to know what they have to
Right.
say. But there's a level, or there's a line. Like, people just cross over to that, and all the parents' drama and everything starts to take away from Summer. And, we still have, there are channels that only cover Summer every single day. And look,
Yeah.
she deserves coverage, but I don't know. It's tough with that one. It really is. They're about to have this Summer's Day, and Jen was telling me about it too. I guess it's her 2-year anniversary, but it's going to be like some sort of vigil. But there
Hmm.
is one side of people that are speaking out and saying, this is exploitative, and why don't we have days for all these other kids and this and that. And it's just, you've got creators who don't ever cover true crime who all of a sudden are talking about Summer Wells and going down there. And I don't know, it feels gross a little bit, but then again, you want to remember her. And so I don't know, there's a lot of weird stuff with that one. It's upsetting. Ooh,
Right.
Lily, we
Well,
both should do a podcast
Ooh,
together.
that is a good idea, Lily.
That'd be cool.
that would be cool. Yeah, I hope that I hope that everybody keeps it together and it doesn't become some sort of circus-like shit show that embarrasses us all. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing. I just there are a lot of channels who give us all a pretty bad name.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that today. Actually, I was thinking, like, YouTube is like any other place or profession, or, there's good and bad. And whether creators, subscribers, whatever, there's really wonderful, excellent people and channels. But then you also have other ones who aren't, that way. And then you also have the people who pretend to be that way, and you don't see it until you see it. And sometimes, like, some bad, like, it's just like the few bad ones ruin it for everybody, you know what I mean? And it just gets to be too much sometimes.
Right.
All
But
right,
I
you guys.
think
Well,
I think we're
no,
doing
go
the
ahead.
right thing, girls, though. I think that we're being the change that we want to see, right? So that's not how we cover cases, and we're not battling each other. We're not like, all three of us, and there are other channels that we collaborated with too that covered, Melissa Jade is one of them, Criminality is another, that covered the Gannon Stauch Leticia Stauch trial, and we all worked together cohesively, like we wished that we could see in other cases, right? That's all we can really do, is be
Yeah,
the
you're
change
right.
that we want to see. And hopefully it'll catch on and people will be like, well, wait a minute. If these jokers can do it, surely we can do it. Maybe it
Right.
will inspire them. I don't know.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Or
Well,
I'll just
John
continue to
Crimes
shun
told me
them.
that once.
You
Mm-hmm.
learn as you
John
grow.
Crimes told me that, and John Crimes' video on Gannon was just, oh my God, if you guys have
Oh, it
not
was
seen
so
that,
good. I've seen it.
yeah,
It's so good.
Yeah.
oh, it was incredible. I remember talking about it with you guys, actually, because Crime Curious was like, oh my God, I forgot about this. Like, it had been so long.
Yeah.
And yeah. But okay, thank you guys for coming. And I know tomorrow night Jen has a live, and hopefully we can do Crime Curious something over on your channel too soon. And then I love to
Yeah.
have you guys here. I've gotten used to hanging out with y'all during the nighttime, and now that the trial's over, we have to find other stuff to get into together.
We
Yeah.
will. We will. We will. We will.
Yeah. I will
Right.
definitely be all over Sarah Boone.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
I've been waiting for her trial since January, and they keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. And I actually have some thoughts on that, but I'm going to save it for tomorrow night because we've been talking for a long time, and I know that you need to make a phone call. So we'll
Yeah.
talk
Oh,
about it
yeah.
tomorrow night for sure.
Well, just
Yeah.
real quick, she wasn't married to George, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Sorry.
Here you are, Melissa. Yes, Boone baby. It's coming up. Okay, all right. Thank you guys for being here. I love and appreciate you. I really do. And I appreciate you guys down in the chat and the mods. And I hope to see you guys soon. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.